it. This is the grand tasting for Bon Appetit, Vegas and Pork, and we are having a fabulous time. We serve Raos with some of the best chefs in the industry. And as you can see, there is food, there is wine, there is Vegas baby vodka. Right behind me is Giada's for Pronto, and also this is it. Like, if you're going to do one food venue, one food and booze event in your repertoire over the year, this is it, because they are here and the food is spectacular. Pt1 has a fabulous truffle soup with brioche. Oh my god. Of course, as we continue on, we have Gordon Ramsay steak and burger, and we just had the tartare from Gordon Ramsay steak.
So what do we have here?
Sticky toffee pudding.
Oh, there's one of the famous burgers, right? There we go. The famous Hell's Kitchen here.
It's the truffle risotto. But we do everything from the smallest half-ton ferment to the very large ferment. And as a winemaker, it's fun because we get to play with almost every different variety that's grown in Washington.
Like that. So, El Negreto, I mean, we were fortunate enough to watch this property being built from the ground up. And I think there's no other resort like it in the area, in my opinion.
I have to agree with you 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
We've definitely set the bar for the entire Central Coast. For the experience that you get at Allegretto,
Right.
definitely unique to anywhere within a couple hundred miles of possible.
Oh, sure. I agree.
The Jack Daniel's house number 7.
Oh, cool. Really? This is really cool. This is how you're getting to a hotel. Right here. This is awesome. I like
Pleasure
it.
to have you join us tonight.
Okay. This is fun, you guys. Here we go. We're going down the hallway. All right, Lisa Harris here, Cuisineist Confidential, and we're at right here, number 17, the Thunderbird here, old school, years and years of tradition here.
Montreux Jazz Festival is every year. We're staying at a luxurious, lovely property. Look at the lake. Lake Geneva, I love you. That's gorgeous, huh? And it's a little bit of heaven on earth.
So welcome to Travel People, and today, boy, do I ever have a treat for you. I have a couple here with me that will talk about how we met, and they have done so much. It's phenomenal. You're all going to want their life by the time this is over. and they're going to first tell you about their life in part 1, and then in part 2, they're actually going to give us some tips on how we can make this work for us too. Those of us that have been at it for a while, whether you're, somebody brand new and you want to do just some of the things they're doing, or whether you are going to want to step up your game if you're like me after meeting people like them. And so they're really gonna give us a lot of help and just some inspiration to get out there and travel. So this is Elaine and Scott Harris. And guys, just say hi.
Hello.
Hello. And please tell them where you are and the name of your website, and just take it away.
Well, we're here in hot Vegas. That's
Very hot in Vegas right now.
Yes, and our website is Cuisineist.com, and we also write for various publications also.
You can also find us, you can hashtag us at Cuisineist Confidential as well.
And you're everywhere. You're on Instagram, TV. We're going to kind of go over some of those things where they can find you.
Sure.
I'm just going to, and usually I don't have to read, but I have to read with these guys because they've done so much. So they have published, their published work has been in things, publications such as the LA Times, the Boston Globe, Chicago Tribune, Travel and Leisure, Google Travel, Modern Luxury, the French Quarter magazine in France, the Monaco, and the Lausanne Tourism City Guide, just to name a few things. They have done journeys across the U.S., Europe, Mexico, and the Caribbean. And I think it's so cool because you guys are, just to have the fact that you are a husband and wife team, and kind of tell them the advantage that is and how you present yourselves in that.
That's an interesting question. I love your questions, by the way. The most interesting part is when we first started doing this, people were not understanding as far as, PR firms or travel agencies, travel people bringing us to different places, is that, okay, well, Elaine, you can go, or Scott, you can go, but you can't bring the other one. We don't want any plus ones, as they call them. But then, we write for so many publications, I finally tried to figure out how we could explain to them exactly why both of us need to be together. Number one, we are both journalists, individual journalists who happen to be married. And we write for so many publications, and because of the social media work that you mentioned, it takes two of us to do this the right way. So finally, it took about 3-4 years to convince them that we should go together, and it's paid off. I mean, they love it because look at it this way from their point of view. We share a hotel room. We'll even show meals if we're needed to. So basically, the only additional expense is airfare, which can be a big one, or and maybe first class train like in Switzerland.
Yeah. It's as we've gone along, we've been able to differentiate our roles too, because sometimes in the beginning it was a little like there's some flux there for sure. We didn't really reading, kind of learning our way through it, navigating through the different things we've done. But what we've come to do is Scott really focuses in on the social media, which I'm kind of grateful he does that. But we both, we both work the story. Sometimes we'll take different sections of the story and work it. And then it helps too to have extra set of eyes, of course, when you're editing. But we've been able to navigate through those challenges as a couple. But we have, Scott always says, we're one-stop shop because you don't have to have a photographer, you don't have to have a social media manager or whatever. We do it all. We encompass it all, so that when we are doing a trip, we're bringing all those different aspects to whoever we're working with, whatever tours and board, and it's very helpful. A lot of people might do one or two aspects of that, but we feel like we have a better reach. And we're encompassing, like I said, we're a married couple. We'll share the hotel room. We can share the meals. We can do those kind of things. And we have no problem doing that. So it's been interesting because the proof is in the pudding, and we put out the content, and we've built that reputation to do that. So we're just going to keep going forward. We're excited to see things opening up again.
Right.
Yes, I mean the amount of content, just going through your Instagram TV alone, not to mention all the other things, the videos you have, which video is huge now. And I love the way that you are in the moment, wherever you are. It's not rehearsed. It's just, you take us there in that moment.
Right. That's what I think. That's one thing that people like about us, is that we don't have a script. Half the time, I don't even know what we're going to say.
Yeah.
We just say, okay, 3, 2, 1, okay. Elaine, Scott, Harris, is confidential, and we are blah, blah, blah. And we just go whatever's happening around us, like you said in the moment. That's just how we work well that way, unscripted.
Yes.
But also not to bring this aspect in, is that of course we do the research.
Of course, yeah.
We always do the background. We always know, our audience, who are we representing, what's going on, who am I getting in front of, and but we always take the challenge. It's like I always say, I say yes. But I also prepare to say that yes.
Right.
And that's the big step. I know exactly where I'm at, what I'm doing, who I'm with, and I know, the basic information so that I have that credibility.
Right.
So if you would, please just maybe tell them how we met.
It was in a beautiful location, I know that.
Yes, it was.
it was really a lovely opportunity, and so we met in Captiva Island, Florida, which most people are familiar with Sanibel Island. Well, it's the island next to that in Lee County, and we were invited to experience Captiva Island, and that's how we met you, which was so wonderful because you were a part of that press trip.
Mm-hmm.
It was so fun. We met. I thought the group was fun. I thought that they had just everything ready for us, and that place was gorgeous. And but I have to tell two things. So so these two did something I would never do. Now, I've done a lot of things, but what they did, I don't like heights. So please tell them what you two did.
We did parasailing, which it really wasn't as difficult as you make it sound. It's pretty relaxing. They just hoist you up in the air on this balloon, not balloon, but a big,
It was the takeoff. The takeoff. They're like, oh boy.
Like half a balloon up in the air.
Yeah, that would scare me to death.
Over the ocean.
Yeah, and I swear I've heard people say, and maybe I've seen too many drone shots, that they'll be up there and they'll see a shark. Now, I guess you all saw no sharks, right?
We saw a gigantic stingray.
Yeah, huge.
The boat captain said from our bird's eye view, it probably was at least 10 feet across.
Or
more. So it was absolutely gigantic.
Huge.
Because we could see it from, our bird's eye view.
Wow.
But that was actually one of my highlights. I was pretty scared to get up there. But, those guys know what they're doing. They do. How many times a day? They definitely have it dialed in. So
yeah, it wasn't. Like I said, the takeoff was a little like, what's going to happen? And, here we go. But then the landing was fine. Just gently set you back down on the boat. I thought we were going to be landing and taking off in the water.
Oh, me too.
yeah, we weren't.
They said that's the difference in the Bahamas. You start in the water, they take you out of the water, you land in the water.
Oh.
They do take you down a low path. Your feet could touch the water, but I didn't get wet at all. Not one drop of water.
Oh my goodness!
Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Now that is, if I were going to do it, that's the way I'd want to do it, because I just have this fear. I've seen too many Jaws movies of you drop me and his mouth is open, but too many movies. But I think where we really started talking was on the boat ride over to Cabbage Key, which. Honestly, I had never really heard of Cabbage Key, but I loved it, and that is where I noticed, how you were actually talking and doing the filming there, or the recording while we were talking along that path. We kind of went on this little path after we had lunch. But the cool thing was, so South Sea Island Resorts, they're the ones that we left from there. We went over for the day, and there's really just the one restaurant, and so you might tell them why that restaurant is famous now.
It's interesting. They had the rumor that it was Cheeseburger in Paradise with Jimmy Buffett supposedly wrote the song about it, but we found out from the servers that actually he did dedicate the song to them, but he didn't actually develop the hamburger and cheeseburger and all that stuff for the island, so that was kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
We found the real truth, the servers and bartenders all the way to know. Lesson 1 in travel writing.
Yeah.
And you guys are that. Tell a little bit about this confidential thing you're going to do, where you or the thing where you get the scoop that nobody else gets.
During COVID, we were approached by a TV producer to start she has since start a new Vegas-centric TV channel called The Vegas Fix. And we have a show on there now. It's called Cuisineist Confidential, where we go into a restaurant or whoever we're interviewing, and we get the proprietor to spill it, meaning they have to tell something that nobody has heard from them on camera, or it could be something personal about themselves, it could be about the restaurant. So it's been interesting because we got some interesting spillets, that's for sure. But it's kind of an icebreaker. It puts people at ease, but also makes them a little nervous.
I'm sure.
It's the same realm because they're like, we try to tell them, just have fun with it, it's no big deal. But interesting things we've learned is one of the chefs was a masseuse at one point. Another one was a Hollywood location scout. Another one did credit checks and background checks for a dating site, which she said was really, really troubling.
I bet.
So you just never know, what people have gone through. You think, these chefs, they work so hard, but usually they've had other careers and other things they've done along the way to get where they're at. So it really is. It's we're having a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love,
you can actually watch some of the shows on thevegasfix.com.
Okay.
You can watch them on there if you want to tune in. There's a bunch of other fun shows too, but our shows there as well.
Yes, we will put links to all of that in the episode notes because
you.
we want everybody to see that. And I used to write for an online newspaper and a blog, and I love interviewing people. I love getting the story. Because behind as much as I love to go to beautiful destinations or hotels or eat at nice restaurants, I like to know about the people that are behind that brand and what, I just think story, and your story I loved. And I think I was especially drawn to Elaine's story because she was a teacher, and as am I. And please just tell them, because I think there's a lot of us out there that have, we've done education maybe our whole careers, and we're ready. We're always going to be teachers. We're always going to be curious. We want to help people, but you're doing it in a whole new way. So kind of tell your backstory on that.
Well, yes, I was in the classroom. I taught in elementary school for 10 years with our school district here. I also worked in other capacities with the school district, substitute taught, worked as support staff. So in total, I was with our school district here for 15 years. And the thing is, it's just a really difficult career. It really is. People don't understand. It's not, an 8 to 5 job. It is all-consuming. And you're dealing, especially at the elementary, you're dealing with all kinds of behavioral issues. You have to be the psychologist, nurse, teacher, mother, arbitrator, whatever, all thrown into one. And it's not for the faint of heart. Well, I'm sure I experienced what many people experience in the field, is that there were so many different budget cuts constantly, to the point where I had huge class sizes, which were really not manageable. And I saw that and decided I wanted to try something different. And at that time, I guess wine looked pretty appealing to me because I started drinking wine. I'm like, being a good teacher that I am, right? I'm like, I think I should learn about it since I'm in education, and that's what I started doing. I started learning, taking classes and getting involved with different groups and blind wine tasting, and then blogging started, and that's how we got started. Was a friend mentioned, why don't you start this thing called blogging? They're having the first ever blogging convention in Las Vegas. So when my friend's cousins worked for the convention center, we got tickets, we went, and that's all we heard was like, do video. Okay, I'm like, okay, so we get our little flip camera. I'm like, let's go to wine country, because Scott had never been to the Monterey area, which is where I had come from. And we brought the little cameras, just started interviewing everybody I could that was willing to get in front of my camera. And not only that, but because of that, I opened doors where we were able to get into different wineries and actually get free labor, but also in exchange, we were often invited into people's homes. And it turned into this really cool thing where we built this whole network of people. And in the meantime, we're writing content for the blog. It was Vino Las Vegas. And unbeknownst to us, we were invited to this dinner, and it was at the Venetian, and it was the James Beard Foundation people, and they were interviewing us for a James Beard Award for our blog. So we were just like blown away, because we're like, what?
Right.
And so, we didn't get the nomination, but the very fact that we got in front of the radar, their feedback was we were too Vegas-centric. So hence we created Cuisineist.com, which is more culinary inclusive. But it was a great experience, and it was, I think I felt like I was on to something, that I could maybe create something more with this. So we got on with some local magazines, and to the point where I had enough years to say, hey, I want to try to do this as a career. And so I took an early retirement, and I say that this is a great gig for us, of course, and a lot of people look at it like, well, I'd like to do that, but I always say you better have had a career prior,
Right.
so that you have different sources of income. It's a great lifestyle, but again, it's always chasing those outlets, which are becoming fewer and fewer as far as print. But it's been, like I say, I feel like I landed in the lottery, $1 million lifestyle, because we get to do things, not just that they're wonderful things, but we get to meet the people behind it that create so many wonderful stories that people don't often get to hear, that we get to tell. So I feel like it's a big privilege. So I was glad I made the career decision. In fact, I went in, handed in my resignation, and like a week later, my first international trip presented itself, and I got to fly to Playa de Carmen, to Rosewood, Mayakoba, to write about their exquisite property there. So I was like, I made the best career decision ever.
Absolutely.
So that's how I got started with the travel writing. We had been writing about wine and food events in Vegas for a while prior to that, but it was a couple of years in before we got into the actual travel piece of it, which I'm glad we did.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, there's so many places you've been. So let's start with Vegas, and where would be, as people are planning their summer travel, fall travel, what are some highlights that you feel like people really should see, should do, should eat?
Well, we like to tell people is that Vegas is much more than the neon lights on the Las Vegas Strip. Yeah, they're beautiful. The hotel, they just reopened one. It's $4 billion. Resorts World just opened a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful outside, an hour outside Las Vegas, with Valley of Fire State Park. They have petroglyphs everywhere. You can camp there. There are lots of mountain sheep, bighorn sheep out there. And also Mount Charleston.
In the spring,
spring. It's too hot right now.
Too hot. Yeah.
But Mount Charleston, it has a dual life, because right now it's 109, whatever. It's probably like 75 up there, probably. And in the winter, we even have a ski and snow resort, and that's literally 45 minutes from our house. And you could be walking. You think like you're in Colorado, or even the Swiss Alps almost. It's forested. You don't see you can't see a casino anywhere. Can't see the Strip at all. And it's a total life change down there.
Yeah, and most people don't even know that we have this mountain, which is it really is. It's such a nice getaway. In fact, sometimes I don't know if I could live in Vegas without the mountain,
Right.
Because we at least have that reprieve, especially from the oppressive heat of the summer. But it's also a wonderful place if you're bringing your family to go and do some hiking or just get out of the crazy of the Strip. As far as
We have wild horses.
so there's a lot of
Really?
nature. We have Red Rock Canyon, of course, which is well known throughout the world. And of course, Grand Canyon's not that far. You can take a bus into the Grand Canyon. The North Strand is very close. It's like 4 hours away,
Right.
3 hours away. And of course, Utah. There's great hiking in Zion and all those incredible state parks up there, which is another just a 3-hour jaunt. And as far as Las Vegas, of course, we have a new Resorts World that just opened, and Virgin Hotel. Vegas is up and running again for sure. And also, there's a really unique, visual arts place. It's very different. It's called Area 15, and they have an exhibit called Meow Wolf, which I don't even know how to describe it. I know it started in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and they brought it here. And they have an interactive Van Gogh art experience right now in Area 15. But the art installations are absolutely phenomenal. And so that's one thing I think people should really look into when they come to Vegas, that get out of the hotel. I mean, the hotels themselves are masterpieces of architecture, and especially some of the renovations with the restaurants. You know, you just can't. It's Vegas. They always go over the top, but this Area 15 is very unique, and I think it's something that people are probably still not really aware of that it exists. And of course, we have the Mob Museum. I think that's a must. That anyone who's interested in mob history of Las Vegas, they have an actual speakeasy in the bottom of the museum, which is really worth seeing or going into. They have an actual distillery in the bottom of the museum. So there you go.
That sounds fun, actually. I mean, the part of Vegas. I like thinking about, the days of the Rat Pack.
The Rat Pack, right?
Kind of the glory days of those, when those guys were out there. But I'm sure you've seen. Now, I don't know if it was Vegas, but I saw where you've attended all kinds of award ceremonies. Bobby Flay, Michael J. Fox, the Parkinson's Foundation. Are those happening in Vegas, or where are you seeing all these things?
We have all kinds, like you mentioned, Michael J. Fox Foundation. We know some people that are very involved in that. There's all kinds of events like that. They're just starting up now again, the foundation stuff, which is badly needed because, that went well over a year and a half, and there's no money that the foundations weren't raising any money unless, private donations on the side. So that's opening. Bobby Flay reopened what used to be his Mesa Grill to Amalfi. So he's opened that one. But what's interesting about that is that a lot of the chefs that worked with or under celebrity chefs went off the strip during COVID and opened up their little tiny restaurants, and they're blowing it out of the water. Off-strip dining in Vegas, you can't get a reservation. You got to call days ahead, and which is good to see. These are husband and wife, people that have been doing this for years and years and years. And any type working in a restaurant is a tough business, but your own place and your partner is your wife and your baby. That takes a lot of guts, but they surround themselves with the best that they work with for years and years and years. There's multiple chef after chef after chef after chef. It's always evolving off strip. So that would definitely tell somebody, on strip is fine. Absolutely support the hotels because they're just now. They're not even fully manned yet. They're just now getting the ball rolling. But off strip, definitely.
Yes, just to name a few, Sparrow and Wolf is a great one. Amalfi, Aromi.
Mm-hmm.
Amalfi's Bobby Flay's restaurant. But Aromi, and now these were the two executive chefs from Valentino's back in the day at the Venetian. That restaurant was there. Pierre Savaggio restaurant. Had James Beard award-winning chef Luciano. And these two guys are just killing it. They're Italian restaurants, a little hole-in-the-wall place. They're doing wonderfully. And then another one is El Solito Posto, another Italian restaurant that's doing really well in Tivoli. And then we have a great fish house called Boston Fish that opened up during COVID. And yes, they've struggled greatly with some of the aspects, but they learn how to pivot too. Some people turned their restaurant into a market.
Right.
They were doing virtual cooking classes. Honey Salt's another one we love. And so they did what they could. They really did. The ones, you couldn't just stay static. You had to think outside the box. Right. And, what are you going to create to still, produce the food? And a lot of them helped the healthcare workers and donated food and time and effort and to help the people in the community, which was really lovely to see. There are a lot of people that help the first responders in the industry. So we're very grateful to them, and we're excited to see, the uptick, of course. And it's been a struggle, though, to get people back to work and to fill positions, but they're getting there, I think. Yeah, in fact, we actually pivoted to, and we are on the verge of opening our own event space called the Vino Las Vegas Wine Club.
Oh, I
So yeah, so that's our big news that we're going to be
It's coming soon, maybe in a few months, probably.
Yeah, so we'll definitely make an official press release announcement on that. But we've been working on that with the build out, permits, etc. But it's going to be event driven space, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, tell them, because you said, you had started with some wine tasting and you got interested in wine, but you guys went all the way through the ranks. Tell them what your official title is and how you got it.
Well, we're so the level one sommeliers for the quartermasters. I got my certified because I was actually serving at a restaurant, a fine dining restaurant. So, but then we looked at it, and we have many friends that are at the highest level as master. There's level one, there's certified and advanced, and then there's master, and that is, it's been called the toughest exam in the world.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah,
and it is just incredible. We saw people go through it, and maybe if, like Elaine said, if she were in her 20s, she gave it a shot to go down the line. It's way too much work. We're busy enough right now.
Yeah, it is. It's a PhD.
A PhD in wine. Yeah.
The thing is, it really takes so much dedicated, concerted effort, just like anything. But it really is something that I think you have to start pretty early to accumulate. Although it still blows my mind. Like, one gentleman who was the youngest master sommelier, I think he got that designation when he was 26. And I think that some people do have an endemic mind where they can have like a photographic way of categorizing things. So God bless them, good for them.
Right.
But I think the average person has to study their asses off.
Yeah, but where you got your level one is like the best.
Right.
I mean, you really have accomplished a lot, and because of that, you guys are asked to speak about wine and not just go taste it, but you speak and.
Yeah, it's definitely benefited us, especially in every round to create different things within those networks of people and work with people. And that's one of the things I'd say to the viewers is if you're interested in being a travel writer or food writer or whatever, it's all about networking within those realms. Know your subject matter, interview the people, but also study it. Make yourself available. Like, we would just show up. There were a lot of times I remember coming home from work and I'd be dead tired. We go to an event, but I'd be like, well, how are you going to, go further if you don't show up? I always say 90% of the battle is just showing up for things, right? But, it's definitely building relationships. It really is.
If someone was going to do a wine tour, their first one, where is your favorite, or you probably have several places, but where do you really like to go? Because I know you guys go back to the California coast a lot. You've been all over.
A lot of people, they think right away Napa, Sonoma, and rightfully so. It's one of our premier wine-going regions. But there's so many areas in Paso Robles, just in the central coast of California, incredible wines. Santa Rita Hills, San Ynez, up to, of course, Monterey and Carmel Valley. And I personally like that area because these guys are still farmers. They will put you on a golf cart with a glass of wine and you take off in the vineyard. They aren't traded on Wall Street. They don't have big, humongous spas, and 5-star or 2-star Michelin restaurants or 5-star restaurants. And they have the local places, and they're a lot that I like about it. It's very personable. You learn way more, you get to do more. Walk in a vineyard, and these people are legendary. There's some that were first to plant Syrah and Pinot Noir in the whole California area. Richard Sample, Jim Clendon, who just recently passed, unfortunately. All these guys, have been there, and of course Kathy Joseph, an incredible woman winemaker. What she just started with 50 years making wine, and yeah, she's very famous. So I think that is, especially your first time, to if you want to learn and get down into the dirt and actually see what it is. I would suggest there. You can always go visit Napa Sonoma, nothing wrong with that. Visit that place too. But if I were going to go up, I would start there and move my way up. For me,
Yeah,
anyway.
the Central Coast definitely is a region that I think gets overlooked, but it's definitely worth looking into.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Paso Robles has done a great job with marketing, but they're coming on strong as one of the premier places for Cabernets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that definitely that people are interested in the wine world are looking at. And yeah, there's a lot of great people out there willing to share their knowledge too. So that's wonderful.
Have you? I think you probably. I'm sure you've tasted other than California. Have you gone up to Oregon and?
Oh yes,
We went to the Willamette
Valley,
and we've been to Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Went through all their wine.
Yeah, I want to hear
Although
about
we don't
that.
get much wine here from Switzerland because they keep it there.
Yeah. Was it good?
They only export 2 or 3%. So good luck getting a Swiss wine here in the U.S. Very, very rare.
Right.
Which is really nice about Las Vegas is that we do get these trade tastings where people come from all over the world. We have the privilege to do these huge trade tastings, Italian wines, Portugal wines.
Mm-hmm.
Chilean
South African,
South
New
African.
Zealand.
Yeah, the world comes to
That
us.
comes to us.
That's the beauty of living in Las Vegas, is really our kind of the culinary epicenter of the United States. We have more master soms here than any place in the world. We have some of the best restaurateurs, the best in the industry, and truthfully, we do get spoiled. Like when you're here in Vegas, the service is top notch. It really is.
I'm sure.
It is. They really know what they're doing here.
I actually came out there with a friend who is a buyer for a major clothing line. And I didn't realize, but that's where, the shows happen. That's where people are buying clothes that we're not going to see on the racks probably for another year. But, and I got to go to some of those shows. And then you would go to, I know there was one section that you'd see all these, pro ball players walking around and rappers and, people that get in special early. But that was something I didn't know. I had started this t-shirt company and I went into the indie part. There's a very small part, the pool trade show that I took my shirts to, but that was phenomenal. I mean, and there is a lot of things about Vegas people do not realize, I think.
Right.
For sure. So if you were to recommend for summer, it's hot, what would be your go-to keep on hand summer wine?
Oh, well, I'm totally in love with Don's Dream Rosé.
Okay.
And I'm
Carnell.
a little obsessed.
Okay.
Yes, I definitely keep that on hand all the time. Yeah, she's that Don's Dream, the winery is located in Carmel, California, and they have a tasting room there. But it's won Best Rosé Monterey County for 5 years in a row. So it's refreshing, lovely. Don's Dream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely keep that on. I don't know about you, Scott.
No, I agree with you. It's perfect for the summer.
You need something
Especially
chilled because it's
Yeah,
hot.
Right.
absolutely.
It's funny you said that about teaching. When I went to buy my niece, she's a teacher, an elementary teacher or something. And, you Google gifts for teachers. And everything that comes up, they're like shirts about wine. I mean, everything comes up because I think most teachers to survive go home and have a big glass every night, So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, they had special little glasses, but it was all for teachers, But so I want to hear more about Switzerland. I love Switzerland.